listening to the Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast with Tony D. Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast, your episodic dose of trivia covering all things video games and nerdy. Now, here's your host, Tony D.
Welcome to another episode of the Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast. Today's going to be another mini-sode, and today's 10-question mini-sode is going to be focused on the topic of, in my opinion, the most technically impressive Game Boy Advance games. So I'll ask you a question, give you 5 seconds of silence, and then I'll tell you what the answer is. So go ahead and keep score. Let's play. Question 1. This Game Boy Advance game lets you blast demons in first person, just like on the 90s PC. What iconic shooter got an impressive handheld port on the GBA? That is of course Doom. Question 2. Featuring 2 strong ghoulish heroes and surprisingly smooth 3D for a GBA game, what title is based on a popular French comic series? This is Asterix and Obelix XXL. Question 3. You could land kickflips and grind rails in this Game Boy Advance game, which recreated a classic console skateboarding title with isometric visuals. What is it? It was the second game in the series franchise. This is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. When I played this, I was very surprised at how smooth it looked, even though it was isometric, and pretty impressed at the time. Question 4. This game gave the Game Boy Advance its own version of a crime-filled open-world top-down video game. What Grand Theft Auto style game was this? This was Payback. Question 5. Known for fast cars and full polygonal tracks, what 3D rally racing game surprised everyone on the Game Boy Advance, and it was originally developed by Eden Studios? Yeah, this was V-Rally 3, and when it came out, I was like, wow, this is a leap for a Game Boy Advance. All the games before that was using Mode 7, similar to SNES, but V-Rally 3 actually used polygonal figures. So that was pretty cool. Question 6. With eye-catching visuals and a futuristic rail shooter style, what space-themed sequel on Game Boy Advance looked and sounded ahead of its time? This space shooter was a sequel to the first one, in which the first one had the word 3D in the title. This is Iridian 2. You should definitely try this out. It looks really cool, and just thinking back that it was on the Game Boy Advance, it was really ahead of its time. Question 7. Originally a 3D console action game developed by Reflections Interactive and published by Atari, this Game Boy Advance version still let you hijack cars and shoot it out into a scaled-down city. What is this daring port? This was Driver 3, or Drive 3R or something, DRIV3R. Obviously it's Driver 3, just stylized that way. Question 8. This tactical third-person shooter introduced cover mechanics on the Game Boy Advance, before Gears of War made it cool. What third-person action game is it? This was Kill Switch. Question 9. Mixing RPG elements with collectible cards, this GBA game bridged the gap between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. What was the title? That is Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. And question 10. Dracula does not stand a chance in this 2003 gothic action platformer with deep RPG mechanics and fluid sprite animation. What Castlevania entry is it where you are Soma Cruz, a transfer student studying in Japan? This is Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. Alright, I had a lot of fun writing this because I actually, my first handheld was the Game Boy Advance. And I got it, they were advertising as a 32-bit system, so I was really excited when I got it back in the day. And over time, you kind of like saw these games released that were very technically impressive. So this episode was pretty fun for me to write, just thinking back about like all those games that I played when I first had that handheld. But yeah, if you guys want to suggest any different topics, feel free to reach out VGNTPodcast1 on Instagram. You can check out our website, vgntpodcast.com, for other episodes. But until next time, thank you for listening, and trivia on.